Alright, had a friend that found this big old plasma Samsung TV on the side of the road that somebody's going to throw away, so let's plug it in and see what's going on with it. Has a touch function pad over there. Okay, yeah, there's a bunch of lines through it. I'm pretty sure that's the screen, but we'll take a look inside and see. I'm going to take the back cover off and then look around and see if there's any loose connections that could be causing the horizontal lines in the screen. And the way to get this off is you got screws around the perimeter there. You got some down here for the base, and you got these four for mounting to the wall. There's a screw right there on the audio video panel, and another screw right there in the middle of all the audio video ports, and a screw right there on for the side audio video panel. You also want to be mindful of the threads. Some of these are fine thread and some of them are not, so just be mindful of that when you're removing the screws and see which ones go where. Alright, I got the back cover off and I'm just going to reseat all these plugs and see if that fixes it and go from there. This board here is called the Y sustain board. It controls the horizontal lines. It's actually a couple boards combined into one. It's also the Y buffer and the Y sustain board all in one. Should just have to flip up that tab and then it will pull out and then stick it back in. Like that, make sure it's all the way in there. Push it back down. Alright, I'm going to do that to the rest of them and see what happens. I'm going to reseat this cable now. So reseating these did not fix it. Now I'm going to try reseating these and see if that does it. So to get these out, there's a couple tabs you can squeeze on the edge and then pull, and then just push down on this and it allows it to free up that ribbon cable and pull it out, and then stick it back in and then push this back in. It locks it. Now when you go to push it back in, it is possible to just slide it underneath, like right there. It's underneath it. And if you go to lock it back, it comes right back out. So you gotta make sure you put it into the actual plug. And then, so I think I got it there. Yep. So make sure you pull it out a little bit to make sure you got it back in there correctly. I'm going to stand it up without the cover on. I'm going to stand it up on the top side down there instead of down here, because we got speakers down here and I don't want to end up damaging those. So I'm going to stand it up upside down and then power it on and see what happens. Okay, let's power this on. Okay, we still got the horizontal lines. So I reseated all these cables and that cable there, and it still has the same lines in the same place. Pretty sure the ICs are starting to go bad along here on the horizontal. So gonna have to replace the entire board because I have no way to replace the ICs, and then that should fix it. I got my used board off eBay. It cost me $35. It's a little bit of a risk because, as you can see, I don't really use any static safe packaging there, and it's not really packaged well at all as far as being knocked around, but here it is. Let's stick it in and try it out. All the plugs on the used board look the same as the ones on the old board in the TV, so let's go ahead and take it out. Okay, so take the old board out. Flip these tabs up. fingernail under them and hook them up. Alright. I'm also going to do the same with this. There's a little tab to get your fingernail under. Yep. And then you can pull that out. And this one has a squeeze lock. Pull that out, and this has another squeeze lock. Pull that out. Okay, so all these should come up. Okay, so there were 9 of these screws all the way around the perimeter. They're the same size, so it doesn't really matter what hole they go in, but it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so now I should be able to just lift it out. It's going to be a little stuck because of the heat transfer pads here. So we want to look at the new board, or we want to look at the used board to see if it has the same heat transfer pads on. If it doesn't, then we need to move it from this board to the used one. So I also need to make note that these 2 heat transfer pads there stayed on the TV. Alright, so I verified that all the pads matched the board that came out, and I'm going to go ahead and set this in. Just make sure you move your wires out of the way if they're going to get pinched, and see if this works. Okay, we're ready to put the screws in. Screws are back in. I like to make sure to just loosely set the screws in. That way all the holes line up, and then I cinch them down. And I try not to cinch them down one side to the other. I try to do some type of star pattern with them. Alright, go ahead and plug everything back in. And these ribbon cables, be really careful to get those seated back in correctly when you do it before you snap them down. And then and that one's in all the way. Alright. And these, make sure on the board you put in that all the tabs are flipped up before installing the ribbon cable. And then just be careful when you're putting it in that you get it in all the way, and then close it, and then you should be good. Alright, it's plugged in and ready to test out. They're still there. Matter of fact, we got a new one. Well, that was a big waste of time. Okay, conclusion I have is that the actual screen is going bad, because the lines have all stayed the same. I caused this line because I unplugged one of the cables going to that board that I just installed, just to make sure that that board actually would cause dark lines if it wasn't putting out what it's supposed to. And yeah, if you unplug a cable, you'll get a black bar across, and so it's either that board, the cables, or the screen. And we replaced the board. I know the cables were seated just fine. So we got a bad screen, so this TV isn't worth fixing now.